Good evening, one and all. We welcome you all to the international webinar series on holistic health, well-being, and sustainable development 2024, commemorating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, nation celebrating 76 years of independence and United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 2015 to 2030 as part of awareness and campaigns in collaboration with Sri Holistic Health Foundation India and Sri Research Institute, Center for Art, Sciences and Wellbeing. Before we start our sessions, let's take the blessings of Almighty.
कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः
With the blessings of Almighty, we shall continue with today's commemorations. Today is commemorated as International Day of Marco. So, a Marco is a wild goat species indigenous to the mountain regions of Central and South Asia. The number of mature individuals of Markhor in the world is approximately 5,700, and the Markhor has long up to 63 inches corkscrew-shaped horns. It is adapted to the mountainous terrain between 600 and 3,600 meter elevation with open woodlands, scrublands, and light forest. It is also the national animal of Pakistan. So the iconic Markhor, with the scientific name Capra falconer, is an iconic and ecologically significant species found across mountainous regions of Central and South Asia, including Afghanistan, India, Pakistan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan. The greatest threats to be survived of the Markhor are habitat loss, illegal hunting, including poaching and climate change. The Markhor was categorized as near threatened in 2014 and is on the International Union for Conservation of Nature Red List of Threatened Species and has been included in Appendix 1 to the Conservation on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora since 1990. Besides its ecological values, the Markhor is a valuable species that contributes to the local economy. Preserving the Markhor and its natural habitat is an ecological imperative and a significant opportunity to bolster the regional economy, foster conservation efforts, and promote sustainable tourism and economic growth, and that conservation efforts will benefit the ecosystem. A Markhor, which is scientifically known as Capra falconeri, and the horn variations of this species have been mentioned by Roberts 1997. In each case, the horns twist anti-clockwise The flare horn marker, known as CF falconer, scientifically occurs in Afghanistan, Pakistan, and India. The straight horn marker, CF megaceros, lives in Afghanistan and Pakistan, and the Bukran marker, CF hefneri, is present in Afghanistan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, and Turkmenistan. All subspecies are considered endangered to critically endangered. So the UN General Assembly proclaimed 24th May the International Day of Markhor, and we celebrate it to the first time in 2024. So this is the first commemoration that is being done by the United Nations, member organizations, and various organizations, NGOs across the world, like we are doing it today. So you are very fortunate to be part of the first commemoration of the International Day of Markhor. We invite all member states, organizations of the United Nations system, namely the United Nations Environment Program, other international and regional organizations, citizens, society, non-governmental organizations, individuals, and all relevant stakeholders to observe the International Day of Markhor as a property. So we also invite all relevant stakeholders to give due consideration to enhancing international and regional cooperation in support of efforts to conserve the markhor, given its role in the overall ecosystem. As part of this, there is a conference, World Conference on Mountain Ungulates, which is 9th World Conference, which is taking place in Dushanbe, Tajikistan from October 12th to 15th, 2024. The conference aims to share scientific research focused on improving management and fostering conservation efforts for mountain animals and their ecosystems. The Kunming Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework, which was adopted on December 19, 2022, and we recently commemorated few days back. This historic framework which supports the achievement of Sustainable Development Goals and builds on the Convention on Biodiversity's previous strategic plans, set out an ambitious pathway to reach the global vision of the world living in harmony with nature by 2050. Among the framework's key elements are 4 goals for 2050 and 23 targets for 2030. Day is also commemorated as Aviation Maintenance Technician Day, which is commemorated to honor all of the aviation maintenance techs, because without them, we would never make it where we wanted to go. We often thank pilots and flight attendants while we make our way to and from far distances, but we never get to thank the important people on the ground who ensure our safety. Every time you step on a plane, every time you buy a ticket, every time you arrive safely, you have an aviation technician to thank. They are the unsung heroes of travelers and some of the hardest workers in the travel industry. While we have high respect for anybody who makes a honest living, aviation maintenance techs are not your average maintenance first. They are mechanical experts dedicated to your safety. So today we offer a special thank you for continuing to break the barriers of human limitations and set course to the skies. Aviation carriers in general, including the airplane mechanic role, are increasing in both prospectus and pay. In fact, BLS reports that mechanics earning their certification as airframe and power plant A&P mechanics have the best job prospectus. So you may be having a doubt whether aircraft mechanic can become a pilot. Yes, anyone can become a pilot as long as you meet the eligibility criteria and complete the requisite training and certification. It is not required for an aircraft mechanic to become a pilot anyway, but however, any mechanic to obtain their pilot's license through standard means through proper training and certification. So to become an aircraft mechanic, the typical requirements are 18 months of practical experience with either power plants or airframes, or 30 months of practical experience working on both at the same time, or you can graduate. So there are a great deal of articles, books, documentaries, and podcasts that discuss evolution of aviation industry, and they are also super fascinating and well worth looking into. If you know anyone who works in aviation, make sure you thank them for all their hard work in keeping our airways safe. So the Wright brothers, which are known in the West for taking the first flight, even before that we have lot of flights even in ancient scriptures. We have mention of Pushpaka Vimana. Now we are having so many of teleconferences through Zoom technologies, and there is Google Meet and all. Even long back also we have in ancient scriptures talking about having teleconference, you know, a lot of virtual conferences. People did not believe it until we also started using various technologies. Still, those technologies are not known to human beings, because we are not looking at the ancient knowledge system, traditional knowledge system, how they use, what technologies they use. Because we are no more reading, or in spite of reading them or going through them, we are still unable to interpret, understand, comprehend, and make utilize the rich, valuable resources. So the Wright brothers flipped a coin to decide who should take the world's first motorized flight. After the Wright's flyer was hauled back from its fourth flight, a powerful gust of wind flipped it over several times. Despite the crew attempt to hold it down, severely damaged, the Wright flyer never flew again. So a Boeing 747 is made up of 6 million parts. Have you ever imagined that big bird is made up of 6 million parts? An average of 30% of the population has a fear of flying. It is known as acrophobia. Though it's been changing dramatically, only 20% of the world's population has been on an airplane, which are infrequent flyers. So Aviation Pro provides the only rapid worldwide transportation network, which makes essential for global business. Without mechanics dedicated to the development of flight, the human race would have never made it to the moon. Families across the globe can travel and visit loved ones regularly because of the impact of modern aviation. Without without this, people would not be connected as they are today. Today is also commemorated as World Schizophrenia Day, which is commemorated on every May 24th every year. So it is a day dedicated to raising awareness of the mental illness that affects over 20 billion people worldwide. Schizophrenia is a highly stigmatized since it's not talked about and lacks accurate representation in the media. World Schizophrenia Awareness Day was created to fight against stigma and to make it easier for the people to seek different resources to get help. It lifts the lid of the challenges that thousands of people with schizophrenia from all over the world have to contend with every day of their lives. Schizophrenia is a mental disorder characterized by persistent psychotic symptoms such as auditory and visual hallucinations, delusion thinking, dissociation from reality, and disorganized thoughts and behavior. It usually begins to manifest when the patient is in their early 20s, although in rare cases, symptoms can show in early childhood. The disaster affects about 24 millions in the world. Cases with description associated with schizophrenia began to be recorded in the 1700s. This disease has been around since early civilization. It was only registered and recognized in the early 1900s when psychiatrist Tegan Wheeler coined the name schizophrenia. However, proper treatment following legitimate human medical procedures was only adapted around 1980 when the appropriate antipsychotic medication was introduced, and there had already been a revolution in psychiatric treatment in general. Schizophrenia is a treatable disorder and in some cases even curable. With the proper medication and psychotherapy, patients have shown improvement. Many people still don't reach out for help. Some who do reach out tend to suffer stigma due to their condition rather than receive care. That's why World Schizophrenia Awareness Day was started to the patients and their families and friends, plus everyone around the world who can learn more about the disorder and know how to help witness. Emil Kraepelin documents mental health cases through this has been a long time issue. In 1887, Swiss psychiatrist Egan Bleuler gives the disorder the name schizophrenia in 1908. So scientists come up with the chlorpromazine, an antipsychotic drug, which is a treatment solution developed for schizophrenia in mid-1950s. APA releases the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, third edition, in 1980. The person with schizophrenia can also live a normal life if they get the proper psychiatric treatment. People with schizophrenia can manage a normal life. Schizophrenics are aware of their condition, usually partly. People with schizophrenia don't realize they have the disorder until they are taken to a doctor who can properly diagnose them. So it is important to leave stigma behind and follow the treatment, always making sure to communicate with the doctors and get support from your closest friends and family. There are wonderful resources with a bunch of information online. The best way to raise awareness is to be informed. Sometimes all the knowledge we have isn't the same as others people. So get your friends together and tell them what you know. If you really want to learn more about schizophrenia, why not volunteer to help at the psychiatric ward or mental health facility? There is no better learning than that which is experiential. Schizophrenia is treated with medication and psychotherapy and is treatable. There are many symptoms characterizing schizophrenia, not just hearing or seeing things. It's not just hallucinations. It's rare for people with schizophrenia to get physical. Most are secluded and introverted, and it's not violent. Anyone is susceptible, even famous mathematician John Nash and socialite Zelda Fitzgerald. It can affect anyone. It's categorized into undifferentiated, catatonic, residual, disorganized, and paranoid, which are 5 types. So, World Schizophrenia Awareness Day is a great day to reflect on the lives of those who struggle with it daily. We all can do our part to extend kindness to them. What's better way to reduce the stigma around mental illness than to talk about it? Discuss forums and discussion forums are available in communities and online. There are many options to participate in and socialize. If you don't know much about schizophrenia, this is a great learning opportunity today. There is so much information available at this time, so dig in and learn and attend various programs online and offline which are being organized like this so that you can become aware of schizophrenia. Schizophrenia causes psychosis and is associated with considerable disability and may affect all areas of life, including personal, family, social, educational, and occupational functioning. Stigma, discrimination, and violation of human rights of people with schizophrenia are common. More than 2 out of 3 people with psychosis in the world do not receive specialist mental health care. A range of effective care options for people with schizophrenia exist, and at least 1 in 3 people with schizophrenia will be able to fully recover. So, schizophrenia is characterized by significant impairments in the way reality is perceived and changes in behavior related to persistent delusions. The person has fixed beliefs that something is true despite evidence to the contrary. Persistent hallucinations. The person may hear, smell, see, touch, or feel things that are not there. Experience of influence, control, or passivity. The experience that one's feelings, impulses, actions, or thoughts are not generated by oneself, are being placed in one's mind or withdrawn from one's mind by others, or that one's thoughts are being broadcast to others. Disorganized thinking, which is often observed as jumbled or irrelevant speech. Highly disorganized thinking or highly disorganized behavior. The person does things that appear bizarre or purposeless, or the person has unpredictable and inappropriate emotional responses that interfere with their ability to organize their behavior. Negative symptoms such as very limited speech, restricted experience, and experience of emotions, inability to experience interest or pleasure, and social withdrawal and/or extreme hesitation or slowing of movements, maintenance of unusual postures are the symptoms. People with schizophrenia often also experience persistent difficulties with their cognitive or thinking skills, such as memory, attention, and problem solving. At least 1/3 of the people with schizophrenia experiences complete remission of symptoms. Some people with schizophrenia experience worsening and remission of symptoms periodically. Throughout their lives, others a gradual worsening of symptoms over time. So, coming to the magnitude and kind of impact it creates, schizophrenia affects approximately 24 million people, or 1 in 300 people, that is 0.32% worldwide. The rate is 1 in 222 people, that is 0.45% among adults. It is not as common as many other mental disorders. Onset is most often during late adolescence and 20s, and the onset tends to happen earlier among men than among women. Schizophrenia is frequently associated with significant distress and impairment in personal, family, social, educational, occupational, and other important areas of life. People with schizophrenia are 2 to 3 times more likely to die early than the general population. This is often due to physical illness such as cardiovascular, metabolic, and infectious diseases. People with schizophrenia often experience human rights violations, both inside mental health institutions and in community settings. Stigma against people with this condition is intense and widespread, causing social exclusion and impacting their relationships with others, including family and friends. This contributes to discrimination, which in turn can limit access to general health care, education, housing, and employment. During humanitarian and public health emergencies, extreme stress and fear, breakdown of social support, isolation and disruption of healthcare services, and supply of medication can occur. These changes can have an impact on the lives of people with schizophrenia, such as exacerbation of existing symptoms during emergencies. People with schizophrenia are more vulnerable than others to various human rights violations, including neglect, abandonment, homelessness, abuse, and exclusion. So, research has not identified one single cause of schizophrenia. It is thought that an interactions between genes and a range of environmental factors may cause schizophrenia. Psychosocial factors may also affect the onset and course of schizophrenia. Heavy use of cannabis is associated with elevated risk of the disorder. Currently, the vast majority of people with schizophrenia around the world are not receiving mental health care. Approximately 50% of people in mental hospitals have schizophrenia diagnosis. Only 31.3% of people with psychosis receive specialist mental health care. Most resources for mental health services are efficiently spent on care with mental hospitals. There is a clear evidence that mental health hospitals are not effective in providing the care that people with mental health conditions need and regularly violate the basic human rights of persons with schizophrenia. Efforts to transfer care from mental health institutions to the community need to be expanded and accelerated. Such efforts start with the development of a range of quality community based mental health services. Options for community based mental health care include integration in primary health and general hospital care, community mental health centers, day centers, supported housing, and outreach services for home based support. The engagement of the person with schizophrenia, family members, and the wider communities providing support is important. A range of effective care options for people with schizophrenia exist, and these include medication, psychoeducation, family interventions, cognitive behavioral therapy, and psychosocial rehabilitation. Example, life skills training. Facilitated assisting living, supported housing, and supported employment are essential care options that should be available for people with schizophrenia. A recovery oriented approach giving people agency in treatment decisions is essential for people with schizophrenia and for their families and our caregivers as well. World Health Organization's Comprehensive Mental Health Action Plan 2030 highlights the steps required to provide appropriate services for people with mental disorders, including schizophrenia. A key recommendation of the action plan is to shift services from institutions to the community. The World Health Organization's Special Initiative for Mental Health aims to further progress towards the objectives of Comprehensive Mental Health Action 2013 to 2030 by ensuring 100 million more people have access to quality and affordable care for mental health conditions. World Mental Health World Health Organization's Mental Health Gap Action Program, in short known as MHGAP, uses evidence-based technical guidance, tools, and training packages to expand service in countries, especially in resource-poor settings. It focuses on prioritized set of conditions, including psychosis, directing capacity building towards non-specialized healthcare providers. The World Health Organization Quality Rights Project involves improving the quality of care and human rights conditions in mental health and social care facilities, and to empower organizations to advocate for the health of the people with mental health conditions and psychosocial disabilities. The World Health Organization guidance on community mental health service and person-centered and rights-based approaches provides information and support to all stakeholders who wish to develop or transform their mental health services and systems to align with the international human rights standards, including the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. So apart from this, there are other national level commemorations like there is also commemorated as Bermuda Day, which is an official kickoff to summer in Bermuda. For islanders in this most tropical island, paradise, locals are encouraged to get their feet wet and swim in the tropical ocean for the first time in the year. Not only it is a time to indulge in little summer fun, but it is also the first time the Bermudan men are officially allowed to don their Bermuda shorts for the rest of the season. It's all about fun, parades, and island life. Just relax. Discovered in 1503, Bermuda is named after Spanish explorer John de Bermudez, who came across the archipelago while sailing in the North Atlantic Ocean. Over a century passed before Bermuda was inhabited. In 1609, a British ship called the Sea Venture was caught in the hurricane. Rather than sink on the reefs of the coast of Bermuda, the crew decided to land their wrecked ship and officially settle the island. The crew of the Sea Venture was the first and only inhabitants of the island. In 1912, they established the island's capital, St. George. It wasn't until the 1620s the ancestors of Bermuda's population today arrived on the island. As both slaves, they were brought to the Bermuda and also free Africans who chose to escape the expansion of British colonies. When colonial powers officially took control of Bermuda, it marked a monumental change and growth in the island's culture, fostering a unique brand of imperialism for the island dwellers who were cut off from the rest of the world. Today is also commemorated as Carp Day in US. Before the Indy 500, and this year it will be held on May 24. Its names comes from the World Corporation. This day boosts the biggest automobile race at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, in which final practice session takes place before the race itself. This is where the teams tune their carburetors or chassis to make sure their cars are fit for the race. Although no carburetors have been used to qualified cars since 1963, the name has struck. Carb Day is now synonymous with parties and is a huge celebration before the race in which concerts features many popular performances and performers. Today is also commemorated as Don't Friday in US. It has been designated by the National Council on Skin Cancer Prevention as a reminder for everyone to protect their skin as they usher in the summer and prepare to enjoy the great outdoors. It is also to raise awareness about the sun safety methods and all the harmful effects that overexposure can have. According to the organization, the motto for National Don't Friday is slip, slop, slap, and wrap. Slip on a shirt, slop on sunscreen with an appropriate SPF of 30 plus, slap on a wide brimmed hat, and wrap some cool shades on these eyes. So this was first founded in 2008 by the National Council on Skin Cancer Prevention, along with partner organizations to raise awareness about the risks of UV ray exposure in correlation with high incidences of skin cancer. Its purpose is to educate the public about practicing sun-safe methods while still being able to enjoy the summer sunshine to help reduce the rate of skin cancer. Apparently, some statistics say that every hour someone in America dies of skin cancer. Therefore, we cannot afford to take it lightly. There are several types of skin cancer, with melanoma being the deadliest, the basal cell carcinoma being the most common. The good news is that early detection of skin cancer can help cure it. So the following protective measures and keeping an eye on the skin is more than enough and keep the risk at bay. Today is also commemorated as International Women's Day for Peace and Disarmament. It's a day to celebrate women's voices for the world free from the threat of nuclear arms. We celebrate diplomacy, human decency, and a violence-free, peaceful future. For generations, the only real part of the women were allowed to play in armed conflict was that of the grieving women left behind while their sons, husbands, and brothers went off to war. The establishment of this day marks a significant change in women's role in conflict. They are now eager to step out and have their voices heard. This day is all about spreading awareness of the terror of nuclear weapons. In the early 1980s, a group of pro-pacifist feminists around Europe decided to lend their voice to the already loud cries demanding to disarm nuclear stockpiles and military forces around the world. In 1985, the total number of active nuclear warheads globally was approximately 62,000. On May 24, International Women's Day for Peace and Disarmament was established. Since the 1980s, May 24 has become a rally cry for pacifist and human rights groups around the world to call on governments to stop the manufacture and distribution of arms, whether that can be for their own militaries or private citizens within their own countries. The movement has grown and evolved over the years, but its core purpose is to stand up and demand to end violence in all shapes and forms. As governments appear to prioritize So the movement has grown and evolved over the years, but its core purpose is to stand up and demand to end to violence in all shapes and forms as the governments appear to prioritize weaponry and military advancements over human safety. A lot of controversy still reign over the need to safeguard our planet from nuclear weapons. The need to celebrate this day today is just as important as it was in the 1980s. The Manhattan Project sees success with its first detonated nuclear warhead, first atomic bomb test in 1945. Soon after the successful testing of the nuclear bomb, two are sent to Japan in response to Pearl Harbor, the first atomic military operation in 1945. Russia successfully tests its own nuclear weapons and Britain shortly follows when everyone gets a bomb in 1949. So Americas create the hydrogen bomb exponentially more powerful than the atomic bomb in 1915. A total of 14 countries have now either created their own arsenal or received armaments from allies since 1980. So each voice counts. Populations do have a say in the number of nuclear warheads a country owns. So add your voice. Perhaps with enough warning, you may be able to escape the blast radius. If you can do this to avoid nuclear strike. Yes, sorry, we apologize for the interruption. There was an important call from one of our professors. Yeah. So how you can avoid from the effects of nuclear strike? Perhaps with enough warning, you may be able to escape the blast radius. But depending on the size of the payload, there probably won't be enough time. So most definitely, you know, or not, nuclear weapons don't threaten women only. After all, it affects everyone, not only just human beings, animals, plants, and even the environment. So spread about the dangers of nuclear armament and how going down this path might lead the world to doom. A nuclear war would spell devastation for them. Wars are claimed countless lives throughout the history. Stopping this senseless killing should be everyone's priority. Support places that have suffered from wars through donations and information. The world is a collection of all of us. Start changing yourself, look back on mistakes you made in the past, and take steps to avoid repeating that history. The two nuclear bombs, Fat Man and Little Man, that were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945, killed nearly 2 lakhs people, destroying life. The most powerful nuclear bomb ever tested in Tsar Bomba was tested by the Soviet Union in 1961 and delivered a payload of over 50 megatons, which is devastating. To date, 6 nuclear weapons have been declared missing and have never been recovered. And only 2 nuclear weapons have been ever used during warfare. However, over 2,000 nuclear tests have been done since then. There is no effective way to defend against a nuclear attack, despite many efforts to do so. No matter your station, ending nuclear armament on Earth is worth pursuing because nothing will remain if a nuclear war breaks out. So we must do all to prevent it from happening. See, we are not the ones who have created this planet and species. We have no right to destroy this planet or any species for that matter. If you are doing so, then we are going to pay huge consequences. And not only just we, but our entire future generations will pay a heavy price. That's why it's not just limited to one area that is drastically affecting the entire planet. So the Cold War may be over, but the threat of nuclear weapons still remains. This is a day that reminds us how destructive they can truly be. So it is a chance to look back and start a positive change, both for governments and individuals. It is also a day commemorating women and their contributions. So we will quickly look at the different other commemorations. Today is also commemorated as National Asparagus Day in US. Asparagus production in the United States is concentrated between 3 states, California, Michigan, and Washington, and it is the best in spring, making it perfect cookie veggie, coat veggie. This versatile vegetable can be pan-seared, fried, baked, or grilled, and it is full of nutrients like fiber, folate, and vitamins A, C, and E. So asparagus was ancient vegetable. The ancient Greeks and Romans used it as offerings dating back to 3000 BC. They used the Persian word asparag, which means a shoot or spout. The term sparage becomes popular for many years, and in the 16th century, we find the term spargus used in English-speaking countries. The peasants called it sparrowgrass. So asparagus was brought to North America by European settlers as early as 1655. A Dutch immigrant to the New Netherlands, Adrian van der Donck, refers to the Aspergillus in his description of Dutch farming practices in the New World. This is vegetable was also grown by British immigrants in 1685. An advertisement for Pennsylvania by William Penn displaying a list of crops that grew well in American climate included asparagus. So in 2019, the national average asparagus seed was around 4,076 pounds per acre, and the total asparagus production was 84.39 million pounds. Asparagus can take 3 years to go to from seed to harvest, but the plants will produce pears for decades, making it a great crop. However, it is quite labor intensive as farm workers handpick each pear. They carefully excavate around each pear to a depth of 9 inches and clip it at the base. That's a lot of fun. Once seen as an offering for gods, asparagus continues to be celebrated today. In 2019, Oceana County, Michigan celebrated its 46th National Asparagus Festival. Asparagus is a kind of big deal. The asparagus gets its name from Greek word aspergos, first appears in written English in around 1000 AD. Today is also commemorated as National Brothers Day in US. So call your brother and tell him you love him, even though he will say you are weird afterwards. When you were younger, you agreed over Legos or whose turn it was to sit in the front seat. Yet in some strange way, those childhood squabbles served to make you closer over the years. Your lovable but insufferably annoying brother gets his own day on National Brothers Day on May 24th. So you love him or hate him. They often can be your nemesis, especially when they poke fun at you in front of your crush, or but when you know they will pull through for you when needed, they just love you just as much as you love them, although they or you may never admit it. Sometimes being a brother is even better than being a superhero, as quoted by Mark Brown, author and illustrator of children's books. The word brother stems from the Latin root frater and the Proto Germanic word brother, which itself comes from the Proto Indo European root frater. Regardless of origin, both in words and in blood, our brothers have backs over and over again. They are our closest friends and sometimes the most annoying people we know, but we love them anyway. Even some of the world's most famous people in history had brothers to lean on and be annoyed by. Brotherhood is also very strong among men when it is blood relation or not. Men take their bro code very seriously. So National Brothers Day is mostly observed in the US, but many other countries around the world also acknowledge the day, like Australia, Russia, Asian countries like India, and European countries like France and Germany all celebrate brothers on May 25th. When brothers agree, no fortress is so strong as their common life, as quoted by Antisthenes, Greek philosopher and star pupil of Socrates. It is also commemorated as National Caterers Appreciation Day in US. Shines spotlight on the caterers who ensure that food served on special occasions is delicious, special, and unforgettable. Food can make or break an event. However, there is more to catering than just the taste of food. Preparation, timely delivery, and sometimes even providing services at the event are all part of the service. It's for this season the Food Service Direct established National Caterers Appreciation Day to not only appreciate caterers but also to support chefs by making supply procurement easy. So, Food Service Direct is a unique online platform focused on food where manufacturers and distributors are connected to caterers and consumers, providing them with the best in food supplies. Quality ingredients and food supplies are the last things entrepreneurs and caterers will need to worry about. Today is also commemorated as National Cooler Day in US. It's all about appreciating the life-saving invention, which is cooler. Can you imagine that as simple as cooler it was mainstream until 1950s. A cooler is an insulated box that keeps food or drinks cool. Ice cubes or ice packs are usually used in the cooler to help the contents inside stay cool. Coolers are commonly used during the summer season for storage or transporting perishable products. They are also taken on picnics, vacations, or outdoor activities depending on the occasion. Coolers are of different sizes, including personal coolers, disposable coolers, reusable coolers, and large coolers with wheels. There is also commemorated National Death Busters Day in US to honor all men and women who served in the US military but who have gone ahead of us. Most American troops to cemeteries or memorials holding family gatherings and participating in parades. It is also, though unofficially, marks the beginning of the summer season. The Memorial Day weekend has become notorious for being one of the most dangerous days to drive. The goal of National Death Busters Day is to remind us to be cautious and take extra care when driving. In response to high number of traffic accidents that occur on Memorial Day weekend, it is a specific reminder to everyone to keep safe on the road, take all driving precautions, and be careful while traveling. As Memorial Day is a 3-day weekend starting on the evening of Friday and ending on Sunday, holidays by tradition allow families to travel. Many prefer to travel by car, which unfortunately involves the highest fatality rate among other forms of transportation. And especially, there is a very wrong habit, bad habit of holidays, which are occasions for celebrations, no doubt. But when we speak of celebrations, lot of consumption of alcohol and even at times drugs is also invited. Unfortunately, due to cultural Western cultural influence and media influence, so drinking and then driving usually go together. And it has been observed that the Memorial Day weekend is the most dangerous long weekend in the US, involving road crashes and car collisions among drunk drivers. Approximately 40% of all accidents during the Memorial Day weekend involve drunk driving. So the National Safety Council therefore encourages Americans to practice what is known as defensive driving, in which a driver can anticipate dangerous road situations even when everybody around him or her, including pedestrians, bikers, and passers by on the road, will make mistakes. The NSC further urges American drivers to be aware of bicycles and motorcycles, pay close attention to traffic signs, be aware of the blind spots, slow down at all intersections, check mirrors often, scan road conditions 20 seconds ahead, and maintain a safe distance from the vehicle in front of them. Today is also commemorated as National Road Trip Day in US, uh, which is same as the commemorated early Memorial Day in US on the last Monday of the May. It is celebrated from Friday. So in fact, the Great American Road Trip is now a catchphrase because the US is one country where road trips count as a holiday in themselves. And whether it's to pay tribute to the fallen national heroes by visiting war memorials across the country, or an excuse to get out of town and have a change of scenery, the road trip has been loved by Americans throughout history. Today is also commemorated as National Scavenger Hunt Day, marking the annual celebration of hunting for a list of items or solving a series of clues to win the game. Whether you are planning a scavenger hunt for random items with your friends across a new town, or you just moved, or a scavenger hunt for kids in your backyard, both the planner and the players are likely to have a great time. Today is also commemorated as National Title Track Day in US, which is these all are related to Memorial Day because of long drives and road trips taken up. To remember our favorite title tracks in albums and movies. To put it simply, it's a music track that shares the name of the album or movie it belongs to. Some examples include Let It Be by the Beatles or Back in Black by AC/DC. As for movies, Ghostbusters, they tend to be defining and most memorable tracks of the album or movie. And some even share a name with artists such as Black Sabbath or even something like In the Court of the Crimson King by King Crimson and so on. So today is also commemorated as Tiara Day in US, which is a day dedicated and used to empower women and celebrate them for their amazing contributions to home and society. A tiara is a piece of jewelry worn on the head of a woman-like crown that represents intelligence and strength. Every woman deserves a crown for the work they do every day. And that is why TR Day was set aside to remind women to celebrate themselves and for others to appreciate all their hard work. Giving power to women benefits society as a whole, as women are responsible for the continuation and raising of future generations. So with this, we shall conclude today's commemorations. Thank you everyone for being part of this daily commemorations. The feedback form is being raised in the form of polls. We request everyone to quickly fill up the feedback form before leaving the platform. So see you all tomorrow at the same time at 6 p.m. with the same link with different commemorations. Take care. Good night.